So I wanted to show you guys the creation of a Bible study, and it is long and intensive. So this is like a blip on the map. This is launching, Lord, please help us. This is launching spring of 2023, so in a year. I know I looked and looked for female Bible teachers that are doing the creation process, and I never could find them. That does not mean they're not out there, but I just could never find something that felt like, I want to see your process. Like literally, what do you do to create this Bible study? How does that work? So I thought maybe since I was looking for something like that, maybe you would be interested, but you may not be interested. So I really need your honesty, because I don't want to just yammer on about something you're like, whatever, Melissa, we really just don't care. So please let me know in the comments below or by liking this video. I'm not a morning person. So last night this felt like a great idea, and this morning it's feeling like a terrible idea. Good morning, Brownie. Ready to go potty? Peanut Butter, are you ready to go potty? Peanut Butter? He is deaf now. He's almost 15 years old, so he can't hear a thing. All right, boys, let's go. Come on, let's go potty. First place I go in the morning is my chair. It is where I think I had to get myself together. So I'm gonna take a quick look at my task list, my calendar. I'm gonna do some lamenting. If you're curious about that, I've got a whole playlist on lamenting. Yeah, that's who we are around here, is we have playlist on lamenting. That gives you the vibe that's happening. I'm gonna do a little biblical lamenting by reading a psalm or two, plus then writing out my own personal lament. Then I need to just wrap my brain around what Andy and I exactly need to get done today for Bible Lab, but more on that after I get my brain together. All right, this is taking me much longer than I thought. I've never really vlogged before, I guess, and everything is taking me twice as long because I'm trying to record it as I go. I guess this is live and learn.
The great yellow sun is reflecting in your deep blue eyes. The day has begun.
The only person that I really experienced this with was Andy. She is my ministry partner. She is someone who likes to read the Bible and then teach the Bible. So I had assumed that the reason that I was able to do that with her was because she was a Bible teacher type. And so I had just concluded that I guess that was where I would be able to experience this really dynamic, fun, in the Bible together and really learning and pushing and pulling one another was just with her. Then we started the creation of something called Truth Groups. And it was there that I began to see, wait a second, like how stupid of a thought, Melissa. You thought that you could only experience this really engaging, very dynamic learning process with one other person because she likes to study the Bible and articulate the Bible. That's very narrow-minded. And I started to realize, oh, no. This is possible with a group of women who just are welcome back. My camera overheated, and so I put it in the freezer. Should I have put it in the freezer? Probably not. If I'm anything, I'm an aggressive problem solver. So after doing this experiment with Andy and with a group of other women, trying to create truth groups, which is really about learning how to read the Bible for yourself. It's not about group learning, although group learning happens. So as that was taking place, I'm getting glimpses of group learning happening as we're experimenting. And there was so much to do with truth groups that I just tucked it in the back of my head, knowing that one day I wanted to really experiment with group learning. The dream is a Bible study where all the learning takes place in the group. And it's full of energy and excitement and aha moments and wait a second, what are you saying? And did you really mean to say that? Because I don't agree with that. All of that I find extremely exciting. So fall of 2021 is when I began this adventure. You can actually find where this began if you're curious in a Bible Lab playlist. If you go there, you're gonna see and hear the story kind of as it unfolds. But this is just another step in the process of trying to develop Bible Lab, which is a group learning experience. It's a dry shampoo kind of day. Last fall, 2021, I gathered, I think there was 11 of us total, with one aim, learning how to learn together. And it was far more complicated than it sounds. But what I wanted to know is this idea even viable? Because anytime that I had tried to experiment with this idea of collective learning, it never worked. And so I really just wanted to see if we all put our heads together, all 11 of us, is there any hope for it? Is there any possibility of it? And once we got to the end of that 6 weeks or whatever it was, for me, it was a clear and resounding yes, this is a viable idea. It still needs a whole lot of work, but it definitely is a viable idea. I am late, so let us run to Andy's. What is really on my brain these days in regards to this group learning process? If you think about when you sit and listen to a sermon, or you sit in a regular Bible study, maybe it's a video teacher, or maybe it's a teacher in front of you, we consider the learning process to be that we are listening to a teacher. So from the teacher's mouth to the participants' ears, that's the learning process. And then we get to discuss that process with our friends, typically around a circle. It's not bad. It's actually really good and has served the church really well. I'm just not interested in doing that because there's plenty of it being done. What I'm looking at for Bible Lab is how do I, as a Bible teacher of sorts, with, by the way, no accreditation, no official learning. So I say that very loosely. I like to talk about what I've learned in the Bible. How about that? That is who I am. So as someone who wants to articulate and to teach that, what I'm learning in the Bible, I have to think about this differently. Because what I want to happen is for the group to learn together, not simply just to hear from me as a teacher on a video, which I think is how this will pan out. I am viewing it and asking God and wondering, what does it look like for me as a teacher, with my goal being not to make what I'm saying what the group is learning. I'm just creating the runway for your own learning. Does this make sense? So instead of saying, well, here's what Hebrews says, or here's what this means, instead, my job becomes, how do I set you up the best to learn from one another?
I was always the one to find myself lost in long conversations, oh, 'cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you keep on waiting.
So we're starting off our meeting and Andrea is over there. So what's happening right at this point is, I don't know if you know this, Andy, but I know that Andy needs a low-key.
Oh, I know you know this. And you give it to
like
me.
a low-key relational, is this what you'd call
Yeah,
it?
to just sort of start on the same page.
I'm doing this for her. I want to be at the table.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Andy, have you gotten all your words out? Because she talked for what?
No, I've gotten started.
20 minutes straight. That was our connection time. Now what we're doing is we're at the table, and table typically means work, right?
Yeah.
So here's the things that I think we have to do, and then you tell me what I'm missing. We're doing an alpha group of what? Maybe 10 women for 10 weeks in 1 month. We'll start March 10th. So we've got to decide who these women will be. That has to be done, and the invites need to be done today. And number 2, I've got a grand desire. I would love to sketch out the first 4 weeks
We can
of
totally do
Bible
that.
Lab. She always thinks we can do it, and I'm always skeptical. We'll get 1 week done. That's what I call. I call 1
we'll
week.
get 2.
You think 2?
Mm-hmm.
You
No,
might be right.
I think we'll get the topics for all four and start looking at what they really are.
Okay, let the work begin. Our work sessions typically start with prayer, not because this is my idea. This is definitely Andy's leadership, leading the way. And a lot of times she doesn't want just a little prayer. It's a lot of prayer. So we will spend anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes praying before we start. I'm typically eager for the tasks to begin. We're coming up with our game plan on how to attack these two tasks. We decide to start with the easier one, which is recording a video to invite these 10 or 15 women into the group this spring. Hello, friends!
Good morning! Live from
Andrea Bruce's house.
Ebbington.
To ask you if you want to be a part of the Bible Lab.
I know, your question is, well, what is a Bible Lab? We don't know.
Now it's time to break out the good old whiteboard. By the way, with the best whiteboard markers, I'll link those below if you're into that kind of thing. Even though we're trying to plan the first 4 weeks, we need to see all 10 weeks for a big picture look, just to make sure our pacing is correct. Enter the second whiteboard, where we are brainstorming everything we think that possibly needs to go in the first 4 weeks. Because within the first 4 weeks, the group will be focused on connecting. Learning how to learn together means we have to know, trust, and understand one another. So we're listing all of the things that we can possibly think of that can help the group know, trust, and understand one another. And Andy is just letting me talk. She does this really, really well. Typically, this is how our workflow looks. Since I've spent hours and hours thinking about this, I'm just pouring out every thought I've ever had about how a group can connect so that they can learn together. And now Katie's here. She has come on her lunch break to help us out. She is diligently taking notes as Andy and I begin the real creation process now. And as you can see, Andy is no longer listening. She is now actively involved in the actual creation process. We go back and forth, and I cannot tell you whose idea is what. It all merges into something that is not hers, and it is not mine, and it is not Katie's. It somehow becomes ours. And Andrea, I don't like to say when I'm right, but...
You don't like to say when you're right?
Yeah, but
Liar.
how far did we get? I said we would get 1 day done. You said all 4 days, and then you took it back and said...
2 or 3.
How many did we get done?
Who cares?
I'm back home, and I feel completely fried. Like my brain is fried. That was 2.5 hours straight of Andy and I screaming and yelling back and forth at each other in the best of ways, like such excitement, such joy and delight, opening up the Bible. We're in 2 Timothy 3, and we could kind of see the pieces starting to come together. To me, there's nothing like the creation process. And to do that with people that you really enjoy being around, I mean, it's just the best. I feel, it sounds cliche, but really grateful to God to be able to do this work, even a little bit. When I say we got 1 night done, which we did to the best of our ability, it's still such a rough sketch. I mean, this will take hours. There's a reason it's launching in a year. Now with that one little night, what's gonna happen is we've gotta then test it. So we're gonna test it with a group of people. And once we test it with a group of people, there's gonna be stuff that they're gonna be like, no, we don't like that, or that didn't quite work, or wow, that was fantastic. There's so much to be done, but I love it. I really, really love it. Sometimes I get strange thoughts in my head. And the most current strange thought that I have is I really want to become a dusk person. And by dusk person, I mean someone who really enjoys the sun setting. I could give you lots of reasons why I want to do this, but it's something I was talking to my friend Sarah about, and somehow, between the two of us, the idea was formed to have a nighttime ritual, maybe a couple times a week, to watch the sun go down with Jared while drinking some hot tea. So tonight was the first night that we decided to try this out. Babe?
Yeah.
I always think I have my my dreams too high or something. I think I'm going to be disappointed.
Possibly.
This is editing, Melissa. I did not realize I had recorded that. This, unfortunately, was a very sincere moment about my dreams about watching the sun go down. Watching it, I'm like, oh, bless her heart.
Thistle and an apple tree, how different two souls can be. But we both grow from the same sorrow if we both. All
right, babe, scale of 1 to 10. How was watching the sunset? That was not very impressive, but how was the experience?
7.5.
I'll agree.
Understand and sway together.